Okay. Pedro, you are live on the air. Go right ahead with your question, sir.
Rabbi, thank you for taking my call. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, so we actually have a lot of agreement on how we look at Abraham. So hoping at least you can answer this for around 22 million SDAs around the world. So we actually view that the Sabbath was meant for all humanity, and because Abraham obeyed the holy law, just like, we do believe that when Cain killed Abel, he was breaking the commandments. So we do believe that it was there for them. I heard you mention that the Sabbath was given for Israel from Exodus 31. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel,
Right.
of Israel forever.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, because I know there are some differences in views from rabbis, but when I look at Isaiah, and it talks about in Isaiah 56, the sons of the stranger that drives themselves to the Lord to serve him, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. Even then will I bring to my holy mountain. So is this like part of that messianic age fulfillment where all the nations are going to be keeping the commandments? Is it not true then that since Israel is a light to the Gentiles, shouldn't that start now instead of waiting for that messianic age?
Good
I
question.
hope my question is clear.
Yep, sure enough. Thank you so much for your call. Go ahead.
You're a very sweet man.
Go ahead and hang up now.
You're a very
Thank you.
sweet man.
Sure.
Thank you, sweetheart.
That's gonna double. Had another caller asking the same thing, asking, well, this Isaiah 56 and 60 talks about the Gentiles being able to keep Shabbat. So please, kind of conclude all that together.
The SDA Church is from 19th century. I hope you, my dear friend, would reconsider just the doctrine of the Trinity, which is really not a good thing. Baker was not the best person in the world, and this woman who Seventh-day Adventists hold out as a prophet was someone who really engaged in plagiarism. And the reason I say it, I normally don't talk that way, is because there's something about you, there's something about the flavor of your question, the texture of your voice. It tells me that you really are a sacred soul, a sweet little soul, who has a genuine love for God. So what I say, I hope you won't be offended at all. Just say, the SDA is a millenarian group. What that means is not important. But many members of Seventh-day Adventists do become B'nai Noach, the pious among the nations, do convert. And there's reasons for it, but I'm not going to go into it now. Rather, I'm going to address your question very directly. So Shabbat, if you notice that the first time we're introduced to the Sabbath is Genesis chapter 2, as you know. In Genesis chapter 2, where God is creating the seventh day, so this is a day that's different than the other 6 days. Not only did God rest, but it was a day that's outside of nature. If you notice, it's the only day where it doesn't say it was evening, it was morning, because this is already, the Sabbath is a metaphysical space that God creates. However, if you look at Genesis chapter 2, there's something very striking about it. That is, there is no mention whatsoever of anybody keeping any laws with regards to the Sabbath. It just says God rested. Now, what does it mean? Why would God have to rest? He needs a vacation. He's tired. No. I talk about that in many of the videos where I talk about the name of God, not for here. But that day is holy. It's set aside. But notice that there's no commandments there yet. Why? Because observing these specific commandments that relate to the Sabbath is set aside just for the children of Israel, which means something very specific. It does not mean that a person who's not Jewish should not, like Charlie Kirk, on the Sabbath day, he put down his phones. He didn't engage. Now, I don't know exactly what he did, but the point is, he considered that the holy day. And it's truthfully, it was Ignatius, a very early second century church father, who's the bishop of Antioch, that really introduces the idea of Sunday Sabbath. So it is not in the Christian Bible. In the Christian Bible, you don't have a Sunday Sabbath. Because it was day of the resurrection, but it has nothing to do with Shabbos. In the Christian Bible, the Christians are keeping Sabbath, not Sunday. So Seventh-day Adventists are right; they nail that, and that's why it's a growing movement, because they nail that. The only thing is, I wish they would get rid of. I say it with love, not not to say in a harmful way. It's because I find that so attractive that I would encourage you really, 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 really to rethink the doctrine and Trinity. Like, use that same kind of rigorous methodology. It's really important for your soul. When it comes to observing the laws of Shabbos, the mitzvot of Shabbos, you're absolutely correct. The Torah says in Exodus chapter 31, we're told explicitly, "V'shamru v'nei Yisrael as a Shabbos lasis a Shabbos l'dorsam b'Yisrael," that the children of Israel should guard the Sabbath for all generations, for all eternity. And then verse 17, "Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oisi li'elam," it's a unique covenant between God and Israel, and it's forever. Ki shesham also Hashem es hashamayim v'zoras, because 6 days God created the heavens and the earth. V'yom uvayom hashvi shavas v'nafash. But on the seventh day he rested and he abstained from creating. But notice, my sweethearts, that this comes up in Exodus after the nation has been formed, after the Ten Commandments have been given. So Exodus, the book of Exodus, I'd like you to think of it in a way that Exodus is the formation of the Jewish nation. So once you have a Jewish nation, that's what Exodus is really about. It's about a lot of things, but it's really the nation that's brought out of the cauldron of Egypt. So the nation is thus sanctified, that there's a unique covenant on the Sabbath. Now here, the context is keeping the law. So I want to say this part, which is not controversial at all. We talk about the Sabbath is only for Jews. That is not being conveyed correctly. Any person, the pious among the nations, say, the seventh day is a beautiful day. It's the real Lord's Day. It's a day that is hallowed by the Almighty. Blessed be His name. And therefore, it's a day I'm going to treat differently. If a non-Jew says that, this is a very great thing. The question is about, are non-Jews, are they supposed to keep the laws of Sabbath? There are very specific laws with regard to Sabbath. So there are different opinions about it. So in generally speaking, the opinion is that only a Jew, only the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob should observe the actual commandments of the Sabbath, but there are different opinions about this. So I want to just say my view on this, okay? There are different views on this precise point. Because it's not one of the 7 Noahide laws that a non-Jew has to make sure to violate the Sabbath. So if a non-Jew there really are different views on this. It is universal that the laws of Sabbath is incumbent upon the Jewish people alone. If a non-Jew decides that he's going to read a book Friday night, and the candles happen to already be lit in his house, so it's all illuminated, and then he goes to sleep, and the next day he's reading, and then the next day he has a cookie, and then he has a tuna fish sandwich. It just happens to be that for 24 hours straight, or 25 hours straight, he just didn't violate the Shabbat. He didn't violate anything. He's not obligated to go and just light a fire and carrying all over the place. He's not obligated to do that. Okay, however, this is really what's forbidden to a non-Jew. And that is to say that the covenant of keeping and observing the laws of Shabbat was given to the non-Jews as well. Okay. Now, again, there are a number of opinions on this, but this is my view of this. That is, if a non-Jew there are many people who are not Jewish who just happen to be that they happen to not do anything. They don't feel like work. It's a holy day. I'm going to just enjoy myself. They read a book. They talk to their wife. They play with their kids. They never violate Shabbos. They don't violate any of the commandments, which is very easy to do, because you're just eating and enjoying your family and so on. You're not obligated to go light fires and turn light switches on and carrying. They're not obligated to do that. The only thing that is forbidden, in my view, there are some people who think that they have to violate Sabbath. This is not my view at all. It's just that what is forbidden is that a non-Jew should not say that the Sabbath laws are obligatory on the nations of the world. But they must recognize that this is a unique covenant given to the Jews. Okay? That's all. That's all it is. Not to go nuts and figure out a way to violate the Sabbath. Not how we do it. It's a very nice thing if a non-Jew says, you know what, the seventh day is Sabbath. I read Genesis chapter 2, and I think it's a holy day, and I'm not into this whole Sunday business at all. That's a great thing. Now, you asked me a very, very good question, and I knew right away. You said you had another question. You were asking about Isaiah chapter 56, which is a messianic chapter. It's really quite elegant and quite beautiful. But many people in Isaiah 56 think that this passage is referring to the Gentiles, and it's not true at all. And here is where, if you don't have the Hebrew in front of you, you can get into a lot of trouble, because in many of the translations that you see, you'll see the alien, the foreigner. What does that mean exactly? It doesn't say the Gentile there. But there are translations that do this, and that's not correct. In the Messianic age, all the Jewish people will be gathered in Isaiah 43, verse 5 and 6. Hashem is bringing them in. All of them. Take 2 rods in your hand, Ezekiel is told in chapter 37. One of it right for Judah and his companions, the other Ephraim and his companions. They become one in your hands. That means the Jewish people today, we're living in what I believe is the Messianic age. We're really in the time of the event itself. It's all unfolding now. I believe that. I'm not hearing voices, but it's very transparent to me that what we see in TaNaCh is unfolding now. And that's what we're finding today, something that's unbelievable. And there's many, many people, and you know, those who watch the show know how many people who thought they weren't Jewish, and then they study this, they are on fire for Torah, they're on fire for God, and then they start researching the genealogy, and they find out they were Jewish all along. That means they grew up, they were told you were a Roman Catholic. That grew up in Mexico City. They told you were a Roman Catholic who grew up in Panama. You were a Roman Catholic who grew up in Honduras. You were a Roman Catholic who grew up in Sao Paulo, in Rio de Janeiro, and wherever. And they weren't told they were Jewish at all. And now Hashem is opening the floodgates where people are drawn to the Jewish people. But here in Israel, there's so many conversion programs, and they're packed with people who have a considerable amount of evidence that they are Jewish, and that they Jews who are forced to convert in Spain. It is believed, no one really knows the answer to this question, but it is believed that among people living in Spain, Spanish people living in Spain, that somewhere in the order of 70% have Jewish blood. It's a very high number. And matter of fact, it's considered many of the Arabs that live in Israel, many of them have Jewish blood. Many, a very, very high number. Very high number. And in Jordan, you have 70% Palestinian. A high number of them are descendants of Jews. A lot. It's very high. If you can go to Afghanistan, don't ask what's going on. These are what are called, my sweethearts, kindlech, children who are the Most High, who are living in a dar geula. We're living in a generation of the redemption. So what happens is they are raised as strangers, which means these are people who are imposter Gentiles, meaning they are v'nei hanechar, which really means, what does that mean? The sons of the strangers, hanilvim al Hashem, who cling, who join themselves to Hashem. So why is it using such a mudna, what's a Yiddish, such an unusual language? It really says the son and the sons of the strangers. What does this mean? That means these are Jews, but they didn't know they were Jewish. They were raised among the nations that are saying, I'm not Jewish. You know how many people there are like that today? So let's say there are 15 million. You ask somebody, how many Jews in the world, if you go into any AI, I think usually they'll say somewhere in the order of 15 million Jews in the world. Usually that's the number spelled out. I can't tell you this with certainty. Like, it's all, anecdotal, but I feel a certain sense of confidence that there are far more imposter Gentiles who are really Jewish than there are known Jews in the world. There are probably many more than 15 million people who think they're not Jewish or raised to believe they're not Jewish who really are Jewish. And now Hashem is making the crooked way straight. And now Hashem is gathering them in. He's bringing them in. See Isaiah 43, holy sons and daughters of Hashem. And that's why. So it doesn't say here Gentiles at all. It says here the sons of the strangers who are clinging to Hashem and they want to serve him with love. So it does not, and therefore these people, of course, should keep Shabbos. Of course should. I can't tell you how many people today all over the world are discovering that they're really Jews. I mean, what happens? All these Jews who were in Spain in 1492, they were told either get baptized. What a beautiful religion. Convert to my religion or I'll throw you out of your house. That's nice. Ferdinand and Isabella. What so nice, so proud. And by the way, the guy who has really made sure that it would happen, Torquemada, the head of the Inquisition, he was halachically a Jew. His grandparents were Jewish from his mother's side. We see today self-hating Jews who are the biggest proponents of our enemies. Same thing throughout history. All the crazy guys, many of them, Karl Marx, Jewish, Sigmund Freud, a filthy, dirty anti-Semite, the guy who comes up with Aryan thinking about the idea that the Jew is the weaker race, was Otto Wienerger, a Austrian Jew. Just like you see today, all the crazy anti-Jews, anti-Semites out there, the Jews, and they're paraded around by all the anti-Semites. Always in history, we always had this. Okay, I don't want to go off the tracks here. The key point is that the language of Yeshayahu is Uvenei Hanechar, which means the children of the strangers. Whoa, that's very important. That means that these are real Jews who were just unknown to the children of Israel. They didn't know it because, now, why didn't parents tell, you should know, Johnny, that really your grandma was a Jew? Because the people were afraid. They were afraid of persecution. They were escaping Hitler's ovens. Whatever the reason was, there was definitely an incentive to keep your mouth shut and to not tell the grandchildren that they really are Jewish. So at the end of days, all these people who are the children of the stranger will be drawn in. And of course, they're going to observe the Shabbat because they really are the Bnei Yisrael. What makes them different than me from them is I grew up knowing that I was a Jew, according to God's purpose and his eternal wisdom, which I don't know why Hashem chose me for that, and so many other people out there, and so many other people who especially grew up come from countries, Spanish-speaking countries, come from South America and Central America, or Portuguese-speaking countries, Portugal, because the Jews were thrown out of Portugal. Only a few years after the Jews were thrown out of Spain, just 4 or 5 years later, they were expelled from Portugal. What do you think? Many of them converted and got baptized and became Christians. And then what happened also is many Jews wanted to escape the European missionaries. What a religion this is, that you have to persecute people to get them to convert. Crazy. Mm-hmm. They ran to South America. The oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere, in the Americas, is in Brazil. So that's why there's so many Jews from from Brazil don't even barely know the Joshua. It's a secret in the family. So those of you who have that kind of ancestry, research. Today we have access to information which we would not have had 50 years ago, let alone 200 years ago. So my friend in the SDA Church, I say it to you with love in my heart. And I know from the sound, the cadence of your voice, you're a sweet person to call and to have to listen to me. But the key is to reconsider the Trinity. You don't need it. And you don't need the SDA Church. And the Baker was no prophet or none of that stuff. And it's not for you. So you're in the right direction. With all the love in my heart, I say it to you. And to all of you, shalom.
Guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, go to Rabbi Singer's channel as well, and also don't forget his 2-volume book set, Let's Get Biblicals, Volume 1 and 2. The audio files are available, but the CDs are not, but they're available on his website.
The MP3. Let me say,
Yeah.
I want to just one other thing for you guys. Listen carefully. Pay no attention to that man. No, listen to me. It's so important. If you believe in the work that William is doing, that we're doing here, whenever you watch any of our videos, please like it and please share it. It's very important because it really affects the algorithm so that our videos are spread around. So really it's very, very important that whenever you see a video of William, a video of mine, it's very important to like it. I hope we like it.
Yeah.
But if you do, don't just pass it. Just make sure you like it and make sure that you subscribe to channels because it really has a very big impact on spreading Torah throughout the world. It's very, very important. You should really go through our videos and make sure that those videos that you haven't liked yet, you do like them. It really has a very, very big impact on spreading this message. Anyway, shalom.
Yeah. And commenting on them also helps generate views as well, so it kind of refreshes them on the system. So,
Yeah.
Rabbi, thank you. Great show, and we'll see you, Hashem willing, same time, same place next week. Shalom, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
If you enjoy this channel and the content, and it has changed your life, or perhaps the life of a loved one or a close friend, would you please consider supporting this work? You can click this link and it'll take you directly to my website with the donate button. Or there's a Patreon link and a mailing address for snail mail if you would prefer. If you do donate, please do me a favor and leave me a phone number where I can contact you and thank you properly. I hope you all have a wonderful 2025. Shalom.